Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on the webinar organized by ABSL together with Randstad Sourceright, strategic partner of our association. My name is Katarzyna Piątek and I'm Internal Communication Lead in ABSL and will be a moderator of this webinar. During today's session, our presenter, Francesca Campellani, Talent Attraction Director EMEA in Randstad Sourceright, will share with us answers for the questions how to accelerate your employer brand impact and attract great talent. As usual, our session will take approximately 1 hour and is recorded. The proper link will be shared with you as well as the presentation. There will be also a Q&A part at the end. Should you have any question during the presentation, please write in the chat window, which opens by clicking on the circle with speech bubble. Our presenter will answer to it during Q&A part. Let's start our webinar. Francesca, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am very happy to do this session because I came to Poland in May and met some of you, and we really talked a lot about employer branding and urban marketing. And I was telling just earlier that Poland is such a beautiful country, and it would be amazing if more people knew how beautiful it is and how many professional and personal opportunities there are. So I built this pack for you with that in mind. How can we communicate the beauty of Poland and the beauty of working there? So just to start, just to give you the agenda of what we're going to do today, it's really give you, but you know it better than me, a little bit of introduction. If you hear noise, it's a tempest. I started in London and it's raining like mad, so I apologize for that. I have no control on the weather. So going back to our agenda, we are really going to look at a little bit of data around the Polish market, talk about employer branding, touch on urban marketing, and then really conclusion, question, answer, feedback, or whatever we want to discuss. So just to give you a little bit of introduction, but really 1 second, our team really looks after talent attraction. So the whole piece from insight and research, understanding what talent is, to engaging them. So we do a lot of employer branding to recruitment marketing, because even if you've got the most beautiful EVP and employer branding plan, if you don't activate it internally and externally, it's just a beautiful idea. So this is really just an introduction to introduce myself. I come from consumer marketing and consumer branding all over Europe. I relocated to the UK 15 years ago, and I started really to focus on employer branding. My academic training is anthropology, so I come from social sciences and anthropology, but I've always been passionate. Marketing has always been my passion, so whatever has got to do with culture and marketing really makes me happy. And I'm one of those lucky people that really love their job. I could, you know, when you do a presentation, you could talk about the company you work for, and you could tell numbers and stats and how big we are and how good we are, but instead I am going to present you my emotional connection with this company. This is all what employer branding is about, is the love, the connection, the intellectual connection, the emotional connection, and also, you know, the hygienic connection. Is this company rewarding what I'm doing and the passion I've got for them? So just to give you, if I had to talk about Randstad and Randstad Sourceright from an employer branding point of view, it would be completely different than just to give you stats. And, you know, they are the biggest, they do a lot of amazing work. This is really my story. So since I relocated to the UK, I've worked for financial services, retail banks, Goldman Sachs, I've worked for technology, I've worked for Deloitte. And each one of these companies, from an employer emotional point of view, had really beautiful memories. Goldman Sachs was probably my favorite one before I joined Randstad. RBS was intellectually amazing, but emotionally very poor. Lloyd's Banking Group was intellectually and emotionally quite good, but from a reward and recognition very poor, especially at the end. And Deloitte was beautiful, intellectual challenges. I really loved the way they built the connection with their employees. My team was amazing, our clients were amazing, but there was something from an emotional point of view missing. And and it was my connection with the rest of the HR community, because they didn't understand employer branding. And it's not pointing the finger, it's just telling you my story. And it was difficult to work in an environment where what you love is not understood and recognized by your colleagues. And then I joined Randstad, and it was a jump in the dark, because after having been in-house for 15 years, it was going back to agency and consultancy, and I really didn't know what to expect. It was really jumping and trying on my skin what will it be like, and I was blown away. The first day that I joined, I went to a workshop with PwC, and I was able to voice my ideas, work with my colleagues, and that was an emotional connection immediately. They showed me trust, and then it went on, and intellectually a lot of challenges, and very generous leaders and people that recognize the work you are doing and give you more trust and give you bigger teams and give you bigger scope. I remember and I am not at all a person that, meeting the leaders or exposure to the leadership rewards me or motivates me. I don't care about meeting the CEO. For me, people are people, and I enjoy working with all of them. But the fact that one of my leaders brought me to a meeting with the global CEO of the whole Randstad, so not even Randstad Sourceright, just to joke and talk about recruitment marketing and where we want to go. And it was a very human meeting. And I thought, these people have no hierarchy. There is not, the CEO is untouchable. We are all people, very smart people, each one with their level of responsibility, and we work together for something good. That really was an emotional connection. So, and this is what your candidates do. When your candidates talk about you or your company or their past experience, yes, they will remember how much they were paid and what they did, but emotionally they will remember the trust, the connection, the belonging, and then of course if you reward them for what you do. So I'm going to talk very specifically of how you get this intellectual, emotional, and hygienic connection with your employees. So let's start with really some stuff, but I don't even need to share it with you because you all know, you're all expert in this field. So I will just whiz through because it's all data that you are probably more aware of than me. It's really by 2030, it's really scary, but there will be a global talent shortage unless there is another big recession and then there is no work and employees are not needed. But let's be hopeful and let's hope that everything is going to go okay. It's really going to be a tragedy, and you are feeling it on your skin when you try and recruit DevOps or technology people or very experienced accountants with a lot of languages. What the pain you feel in your own companies, it's felt by everybody. I always puzzles me why countries are not investing in digital skills from school, from when kids are really young. It really surprises me that we are not investing on new skills and the new capabilities. Technology people are so rare, and it really baffles me. One of my dreams would be to advise the government on the way they need to go to really create these skills, but it's going to be really difficult. And India is really investing, and but the US is going to be really impacted. Hong Kong, a lot of other countries, and I will share with you the talent shortage. So this is an analysis of the mismatch between supply and demand in just 2 years, so not tomorrow, in 10, 20, 30 years. We're talking about really tomorrow, 2 years ago with a blink of an eye. And if you see, these are how talent shortage is going to affect countries in different ways. And if you see Poland, and unfortunately, in a way, it's very emotional that you're close to my country, the country I come from, which is Italy, but it's very sad for us. But it's going to really affect us and impact us. So Poland will have some deficit in talent. And how do you cope with that? What do you do? So other little data that I wanted to share with you is that, your pain is not only your pain. In EMEA, probably since 12 years ago, it's the highest talent shortage that we we've ever experienced, and that's why you're experiencing the pain of people just going away for a few pounds, a few euros. It's so easy for people to jump from one place to another, and they are so requested that, of course, it's very difficult to retain and attract good people, especially in Poland where you need languages. So you are a little bit higher in the difficulties of filling roles than the medium average of EMEA, but we are all in the same boat. Large companies are feeling the pain more than very small companies, but that's absolutely normal. And most of the Polish survey of Polish employees, when they're asked what makes you happy and what doesn't make you happy, they talk about higher pay, and it's really people that really ask for too much of a jump in pay and lack of experience. And I remember having this discussion with few of you in May. Is it better to recruit good people and then teach them languages, or is it better to focus on languages and then teach them skills? And I don't know the answer to that. Instinctively, I would get good people and teach them languages, but all of you told me that you would never do that, that for you it's more important to get the languages and teach skill. We did the opposite in India for Goldman Sachs, but it's personal choices, and I can understand that it must be difficult to teach languages to people, but some solution out of the box sometimes needed to be found. So it's really not an easy scenario for us all and for your country and your business. So what can you do that is a little bit different, that really focuses on the more soft, emotional, intellectual? I was talking to you about my experience at Randstad. I would genuinely never go away if they offered me more money, a little bit of more money in another company. In this moment, absolutely not. Money would not motivate me to go away. And I know the money is important. It's our freedom, our autonomy, taking care of the people we love. But when you've got a deep connection with the company and you see a future with the company, it's very difficult to go away for a little amount of money or one other little benefit. So really the connection and employer branding, it's more important than people think. And it's a little bit different from just benefits and having a nursery. It's a little bit deeper. So as you all know, employer branding started as a science started in the 80s, but it was formalized in the 90s, and it really was born by the brain of Simon Barrow. It was called in a lot of other ways. It's always existed. It was HR strategy, it was engagement. They called it in different ways. But Simon Barrow really finalized the definition of employer branding. And a lot of people confuse employer branding just with attraction and talking about employer branding as a lever to attract people, but really it's the whole employee experience. It's the package of all the functional, economical, psychological benefits, your journey in a company from attraction to leaving the company and having a beautiful experience as an alumni, an exit interview. So it's really the full journey. Most of us that really work in employer branding, it's very difficult that we are asked to do the full piece. People focus us more on the attraction piece, and it's fine. It's still 20 years old science, 30-year-old science, so it's fine. It will evolve. At Lloyds Banking Group, I had the opportunity to do it end-to-end, including selection and assessment, which is a very important moment in which you are demonstrating that what you are saying at the beginning is true, because you are selecting people against the value, the identity, and the culture you're promising they will have. So selection assessment is the first moment of betrayal in a company if you don't do employer branding end-to-end. So that's the way historically employer branding has been perceived. And I just wanted to share with you some KPIs you can use to measure your employer branding effectiveness. There are, you can have 50, 100 KPIs, and sometimes you can go deeper and look at bounce rate, visitors of website, likes on social media. But honestly, that's really peripheral. If you have to focus and demonstrate to your leaders that you are effective in employer branding, I would say that really the career website, which is your perfect and less expensive organic channel, time to hire, application per hire, but time to hire is less important than application per hire. I know that time sometimes is critical because you need a person in 10 days and not 20, but it's better, in my opinion, to take 20 days but have the right person than to get 10 days and then disengaged person, not fit for purpose, and then HR has to work a lot to develop that person, to engage that person. So time for hire we can discuss. Application per hire is important because your recruitment teams are going to spend a lot of effort and money in in shifting application and deciding who are the good people. So you really reduce the cost and the effort. Cost per hire for me, it's absolutely essential because there are benchmarks, and I don't know the one in Poland, but for example, in UK, it's around, for early careers, so graduate and school leavers, is around 1,700 per hire, and we reduced it at Deloitte to £800 with beautiful quality, and that really demonstrated the commercial value of employer branding. Of course, recruitment has to be aligned. Employer branding without good recruitment operation and good line managers to interview is just a beautiful story, but it can really support. The sourcing mix balance is very important. How much are you spending in agency, or how many people do you need to do direct sourcing against how much media, website, programmatic recruitment marketing are doing, which require less people and can bring you recruitment marketing passive candidates. So we are working with a lot of companies in Hungary, in UK, in Germany. We're working for a US company as well to really start and do proper recruitment marketing, which decreases the cost and it's more effective and brings you candidates that are more fit for purpose. Diversity of hire, if it's important for you, it's very important to me that you recruit people, and I'm not talking just women and men, I'm talking introvert and extrovert, very detailed people, very big picture people, very emotional people, and very cold and intellectual people. So it's really, the more it's been demonstrated, the more diversity of workforce, the more the bottom line, the profit goes up. And then, of course, how many people accept your job and how much are you retaining the people that you recruit. And that's where employer branding becomes an HR strategy. So retaining people is probably more important than attracting it, because recruitment, it's very much linked to the level of retention. And then, of course, there are the other KPIs. They're much more soft and intangible, and it's difficult to explain them to people that are just business people or hardcore HR people, but they're very important. So online reputation, ranking and awards, engagement, internal engagement and performance, possibly of the best people, because you can have an amazing engagement of the people that you want to get rid of, but the good people are not engaged because maybe you don't reward them, or there is not a talent management strategy. And then, of course, all the focus group and brand surveys that you can do internally and externally. So, you can have 50 KPIs. I would say if you really start and benchmark these ones, and then every year you measure the difference, that's where you can demonstrate the value of our science. Now, I've worked, it's 15, 20 years that I work in employer branding, and the way Simon Barrow talk about it, so economical, psychological, it's too imprecise for me, and sometimes it's not easy to grasp. So I created a more refined model that that it's easier for HR and marketing people and business people to use to really understand what employer branding wants to achieve. So from my point of view, and again, I showed you when I was talking about Randstad, the most important connection, and I'll give you a very practical example in a second, are intellectual connection, emotional connection, and hygienic connection. Now, intellectual and hygienic really give satisfaction. You do an intellectually challenged work, you really deliver value, you feel that you've got an impact and you are rewarded for it, you're recognized for it. So you're not just doing it in a very dark place where nobody sees you and nobody tells you thank you. So it's really satisfaction. If you put together hygienic and emotional, it's what we call engagement, because you're emotionally involved, you create a positive, healthy, and deep connection with your colleagues, with your leaders, with other countries and departments. So especially in Poland, in Hungary, you work with a lot of international clients. If you got the people that are not able just to do the job, but to create connection with other countries and other cultures, and connection is more important sometimes than performance. You all know, and you've all experienced, that if you work with somebody that trusts you and like you, even respect you, it's much easier, and they will do more to support you, help you, and work with you. So it's absolutely critical that relationship, especially for a country like yours and business like yours, it's absolutely critical. From my point of view, it's more critical than languages, because languages is a channel, a medium, and it's important because if you don't understand each other, how do you build a connection? But emotional connection can go beyond a perfect English or a perfect German. That's, of course, my point of view, but and I've seen it, I've tested it on my skin for years. And then, of course, your clients. If you do business to business, you have to create a relationship with other people, but clients, if you are in customer service or you really have relationship with clients, clients go back to companies where they have a connection, not just the company that gives the biggest value at the best price. And then, of course, there is something magical that it's between intellectual and emotional, that even if people don't reward you, you feel you are serving your purpose, your vocation, your passion. And it happened to me in some companies that I felt I was doing exactly what I was meant to do, what I was born to do. For example, when I helped, we reached and impacted at Lloyds Banking Group 1 million young kids and helped them to get certification beyond working for Lloyds Banking Group. We really supported young kids. Now, who in their life has got the opportunity to impact and help 1 million children? You know, I couldn't have 1 million children and help them all, but in this way I don't have to have 1 million children, but I can touch them. That for me kept me motivated to stay at Lloyds Banking Group for 3 years, even if the hygienic factors were very low. So if you really touch all of these points and your company has created an employer branding plan that really touches all of these points, you are really, and I put the word be, because be is the beginning of belonging, which is much better than inclusion or engagement. You belong, you feel you are at home in that company, and also be is what we are human beings. So when you really reach that level of happiness, it's very difficult to be lured away for 100 pounds. Now I'll give you now practical tools and example after having spoken about theory. I've done a lot of research, especially in Poland, and I was really surprised that 10% of the companies in Poland are doing nothing in employer branding, just offering jobs. This is the salary, this is the job description, come and work for us, which is mind-blowing. 10% is a big portion of the business population. But a lot of companies in Poland, and I said, you know, Matilda, you remember I told you when I came back from my trip in Poland that I found that the business and HR people I met during that 4 or 5 days are much more clever, clued up, much more invested in really focusing on employer branding than even British people. So I think you're at a level of maturity that it's really high, and you're really doing a lot. So 10% of the companies are doing nothing, but the other 90% are doing a lot. And what we've seen is that at least 50%, 53% of all the Polish companies are really investing on learning and development, extra development. A lot of your companies are really focusing on adjusting requirements. I did the research once for a DevOps that also had to be an architect, and our research the outcome was 2 people in the whole of the UK. And then when you took away a couple of requirements, but still satisfied the skill that you needed, the core skill that you needed, we had 20,000 people to look for. So really adjusting requirements and understanding, are you looking for unicorns or do these people exist? There is a company I will not talk about because it would be unfair, and we are working with them, and their scope is to attract 20,000 DevOps and technology people every year. And of course, they are adjusting requirements and adding a lot of learning and development because they want good people, but they're going to train them, or else you're not going to get 20,000 people in technology. And then a lot of your colleagues in Poland are looking for different talent pools, so diversifying, really trying to understand the core of the potential and the aptitude and the cognitive skills that you need, and then requalify. Benefit and flexibility. I've seen example when I came to Poland that we don't do here in Britain. You're really super ahead in giving a culture, a life, a lot of activities that are really amazing for people. So well done. You're really ahead, I think, of a lot of other companies in Europe. Then you're really starting to look at the right person for the right job. It could be permanent, it could be contractors, it could be temp, really looking at total talent and not just focusing on, okay, I need a permanent employee or I need a contractor, being fluid, really understanding that at the end of the day, you are buying a human being that can do a job. It doesn't matter in which form. And of course, there are commercial implications and economical and financial implications, so you can't do whatever you want, but it's nice to see this fluidity. And then, of course, you have to focus on a higher salary because it's becoming so competitive, like 15 years ago when I was working in India. So just from an hygienic point of view, companies will really need HR business people that understand this very deeply. So the skills of HR people are growing. You cannot just do any more payrolls, recruitment and transactional learning and development. So the changes in the world are forcing HR people or to keep up and get super skilled or to be left behind. And I told you, I was impressed by the level of intelligence, culture and preparation of the people I met in Poland in May. So let's now go to the ones that no one is using. By the way, I've just put here some, across these slides, some example of amazing creative adverts, and these adverts can be on print, on a bus stop, digitally, on the website. But I've really put some of the best example of how, because on top of all of these, you have to have creativity and talk about your jobs in a creative way, or else it becomes always the same message and always the same thing. And I've been a copywriter myself 25 years ago, and I love the good copywriter ad and nothing written, because I know how a copywriter feels when they see an empty piece of paper and they have to fill it with words and with messaging. So it talks perfectly to people like me who are copywriters. So behind this, there are really smart HR and marketing people understanding how to do employer branding. Emotional factors. Not a lot of people use these. It's more difficult to find people that are expert in really implementing these kind of factors. So in order to do that, you really have to look at your talent management and pay and reward, which doesn't mean just throwing money at people, but making talent management transparent, fair, just, in control, so putting people in control of their talent management. I've seen a lot of companies that don't share the criteria of talent management, or they go to the other extent. Oh, we don't have talent management anymore. It's just beautiful conversation and people talk about stuff, and we just have a dialogue, and both strategies do not work. People want to know what's going on, what do you need, what is good for you. how they can have the impact and value, and how are you going to recognize. So, you know, I don't believe in talent management that it's not done properly. I've done talent management for 7 years, and I think it's one of the most crucial emotional connection. And it's not just because of the money. It's because the honesty of a company saying, you are good, and this is why, and I'll help you with learning and development to become good. Then internal comms and channels, let people know what's going on. You know, don't wait for rumors and gossip and fear to go across your company. If there is something going on, if there is something going on in HR, in the business, in the world, in your company, let them know. We have got at Randstad Sourceright a beautiful app that it's an internal communication channel where you can share all of your beautiful moments, you can celebrate success, you can talk, you can share things you like. It's the formal channel for learning and development, for HR, for branding, for marketing. It's a beautiful way to have people connected. So invest on infrastructure of communication. Of course, agile working and self-expression is fundamental. So what do you do to trust your people? You allow them to work beyond the 9 to 5? Do you allow them to work from home? Do you allow them, they are like me, you know, my brain doesn't work at 8 o'clock in the morning. It just doesn't work. You can force me to work at 8 o'clock, but you're going to get 2 hours of my time when my brain is substandard, and then my brain is really good at 7 p.m. in the night. So why forcing me to work 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 when I'm not adding any value? And also self-expression. Can I dress in the way I really want? Can I be myself? Can I have pink hair? You know, I went to pink when I was at Deloitte because I felt they talked about diversity and inclusion, but it was so formal and horrible that it wasn't true that people could express themselves. So I said, you know what? I'm going to rebel. I'm going to demonstrate you that I'm the same human being with pink or blonde hair, and I went pink. Then I got affectionate to it, and then for a while at Randstad Sourceright, because I felt loved and embraced for who I was, I stopped being pink because I didn't need it anymore. No rebellion needed. Now I've gone back to it, but just for the pleasure of the pink, not because I'm rebelling. So do you really allow your people to be who they are? Do you do crowdsourcing? Do you get ideas from the bottom? Have you got an idea box? At Google, they had a policy of 80-20. So 80% you did your job, 20% you could work on anything that could add value to the company in any field. So you could participate to a project on something else and really add value, express yourself, explore. Do you expose your good people to leadership, and not as a political thing of look, you're going to have dinner out with the leaders. No, to create a human connection. Are they nice people? Do they chat with people? Do they joke with people? It's really critical. You stay in a company because you love the people. You know, there is one of the leaders in my company is called Mike that I adore, because he's clever, he's smart, he's generous, he's kind, but he's also sarcastic and he's got a sense of humor. How could I leave and not work with Mike anymore? You know, these are the connections that make us stay. And then learning and development, you're already investing on it, but is it tailored for people? So if I want to move job internally, or if I want to learn something now, do I have the tool to learn it now when I need it? Or is just compliance training, traditional training? So do I put people in control of their development? And then, of course, we discussed this a lot when I was in Poland in May. If you don't have good middle line management, so good middle management, whatever you do, it's going to fail. Because if your manager doesn't understand what HR is trying to do, and forces people not to look at secondments or not to look at anything, or treats them badly, your whole strategy will just go down. And I just want to point out on all these ads, one of the most hilarious one is the marketing manager. That's Burger King, and they don't want to mention the M because it's McDonald's. So I find that, and you can't do that kind of advertising in UK, but you can do it in US, and it's absolutely hilarious. Would have attracted me immediately to work for Burger King, or very strong messages like, this is not for you, why this is not for me, I want to read it. And of course, creative advertisement linked to employee branding has to be perfectly targeted to the people you're talking to. This might work for a person like me, who's quite sarcastic, has got a sense of humor, and has got the sense of challenge. It might not be good for other job families or for other personalities. So do you do target audience segmentation before developing all of your plans? Do you understand every single personality of your job families, of your nationalities? It's very important that you take a marketing approach and understand your people, and not just a number of employees. Then the intellectual one, and probably, I'm very emotional, but probably for me the intellectual ones are even more important than the emotional ones. So can I innovate in my job? Can I make the difference? And we talk a lot about innovation, and it's a buzzword, but can I touch it in my day-to-day life? Can I really change the way things are done? Now, in these 9 months at Randstad Sourceright, I think I had more opportunity to introduce new things and innovate that I had. Goldman Sachs was like that, pure innovation. But the 10 years in the middle between Goldman Sachs and Randstad Sourceright probably are the same as 9 months here. So amazing. For me, my happiness. I can innovate, I can change, which doesn't mean changing for the sake of changing. It just means being able to do it, should it be worth. Do you give freedom and autonomy to your people, which is different from agility and flexible working? It's really the freedom to create new services and do things in a different way and bring ideas to the table. Do you give them the freedom to create and influence change? So can they really influence business change? I remember when I was at DCCX, it was CSC, computer science at the time, we had an innovation challenge, and all of the graduates had this innovation challenge, and we taught them all the scientific methodology of innovation and process improvement. And 3 teams who won a big prize made ideas that made the company save £6 million in 1 year, because they found a loophole in procurement. Do we harness this? And it has to be formal. You cannot, I'm talking very emotionally about these factors, but they have to be formalized. We're not talking about saying you're free, you're autonomous, do whatever you want. You have to have a program that helps people to innovate. You have to have a policy that allows people to bring ideas. You have to have the platform, the channels, and the tools and the communication to make this happen. It's not just words. It has to be very practical and very tangible. Cross-pollination. Do you get your people from accountancy work with your people in technology? Do you have project that goes across countries? Do you give your people the opportunity to collaborate? Do you give your people the opportunity to second and do international secondment, global mobility, internal mobility? Do you even give your people the opportunity to go to a competitor? And it's been beautiful working together. Go explore the world and come back in 2 years' time, and you're a better person and a better professional. Have you got the courage to talk with your people about this? And then if talent management is very emotional, performance management is very intellectual. I want to know, not that I get the bonus or a pay rise. I want to know that I've earned it, that I've done something, that I've impacted the business, that I brought money, that I brought improvement, that I brought creativity. So are you doing a performance management that is clear and structured, or are you just having conversation with your people, or too structured and you're only looking for a certain kind of people and not expanding the way people can contribute? So really, for me, these are very important and they're very tangible, and you have to transform it in programs and in strategy. So if I had to say what are the 3 most important things for me: be strategic, HR, employer branding, internal engagement have to have the same rigor, science, and effort you put in business strategy. HR people should sit at the board with the CEO. Not for the payroll and all of that, which is the transaction operation HR needed, but this kind of HR has to have a seat at the table. Flexible, go beyond what you're used to, go beyond the geography. Do you want to source in the whole of the world, in Europe? Do a strategy that no one is doing. Do a recruitment marketing campaign and a creativity that no one is doing. That is make your company different. Nobody has got the courage to do anything different. We did an analysis for the pharmaceutical companies, and oh my God, I love them, but they're saying the same things. Even technology companies, they're talking about the same stuff with the same creativity, very conservative, very boring. Go beyond, risk it, do something that other people are not doing, and then be creative. How many times can you say the same thing? Yes, we reward you. Yes, it's innovation. Yes, we are disruptive. Oh, we are technology enabled. People is our core. People is the things that differentiate. How many times can you say the same thing in the same way? So really do scientific positioning, some scientific messaging positioning, and find your own voice. There has to be your own voice and not just repeating what other people are saying with a different logo, a different color, and a different website. Now, very briefly, because I want to leave some time to chatting, really, my approach is very much comes from marketing and branding. When you will have this presentation that will be shared with you, just click on the Persil logo on the one on the right, and you will see how you can really position your company from an identity point of view. So really being, belonging. Stop talking about your company as the liquid, the detergent that cleans better, good salary, it's ecological, good learning and development. It's not just about the hygienic factors. It's the identity. Why should I work for you? Who am I if I work for you? What kind of person? You can, I genuinely think you can identify a Google or a Facebook person in a lift. Can you identify as your people? I've got anything that can identify that they are your people. So really think about using proper marketing and branding and bring it to your employer branding. I've put here some of the videos I love the most, some of examples from employer branding creativity that are really good. Some of them are slightly sexist. So the Virgin Atlantic one probably is a little bit of old-fashioned, and you wouldn't want to put women just in red lipstick and beautiful shoes, but they are amazingly clever, and they've really managed to send a message to candidates that there is something special about working for these companies. So they are just there for you to watch. And then I will really brief through 5 minutes on urban marketing, because this is really close to my heart. Poland is such an amazing, beautiful country, and even towns that I had never heard of before, or that are not really perceived as amazing places to live in, are really amazing. Architecture, people, beauty, houses, the life, the schools. It's just such a beautiful country, but I don't think you do any urban marketing. And we were talking with the ABSL people, and why don't you come together and really do a project together, as not talking about your own company, but really to position Poland as the country of choice to make an amazing career, an amazing experience, personal and professional. It's the first thing I would do if I was the president of Poland. I would really focus on that. So, and also you need to focus on your business. So there is a lot to do on business rebranding, industry, and country rebranding. And I know it's not true. I've set up shared services and business services for Goldman Sachs all around the world and in India. But I remember that even at the time, our job was perceived not really as good. The investment bankers in US and UK, they were thinking, if you outsource, or there is a business center, or if you do the work that it's not done in US, in UK, in Germany, it's not going to be the same level. It's absolutely not true. I think there are amazing professionals all around the world, and the way you are running your businesses is exceptional. But just remember that not everybody has understood that working in business services or in shared services or in global business centers, it's a good career. So I would really genuinely work together as a collective on rebranding and creating employer branding for your businesses, even before focusing on your individual businesses. You have to change this perception. You have to get Polish people know, and people from all over the world, that it's a fantastic industry to work in, and you can make an impact and you can make a change. And then urban marketing. You know, I've seen London was amazing, and the whole of UK was amazing. Manchester was perceived 20 years ago as a very bad place to live in. Now Manchester is vibrant, and people are relocating from London to Manchester for the good work they can do, the good careers, the good life, salary balance. So with the same job in Manchester, you can buy a house. Here you can rent a room in a flat in London with the same salary. So a lot of countries are really focusing on urban marketing. So the city and the country really become a product, a company, and it's complex, but you can really position and brand your country or your city. And I've seen, you know, Nottingham, amazing campaign. You know that all the young kids are using Instagram, and there is this obsession with Instagramming yourself and putting this beautiful picture. And Nottingham did a fantastic campaign to reposition themselves by saying Nottingham is an Instagram worthy. And I have seen the result of this, the tourism to Nottingham, especially amongst young people, really raised. And of course, this was a touristic campaign, but you can do the same for professional work and working there and living there. And it's really very complex, and I'll give you the details in 1 minute, but it's really creating a common identity, working with the local government, with the local association, with the art and the culture of the place, and create campaigns that then you can all share. How beautiful would it be if there was a dedicated website to how beautiful it is to work in that city and that country, and all of your career website had it integrated in the website as a fragment, so that you were all talking about the same beautiful things. And then you focus on your own business benefits, but how beautiful would it be if you could really start and talk about Poland or the town you make business in? New York has done amazing work on that. You know, the I Love New York or the Big Apple have been one of the marketing geniuses ideas of the last 40 years. I don't think any other countries have done anything better than New York, but you can get that. And of course, the second one will never get the same. So you cannot say, I love Poland, or I love Łódź, or I love Warsaw. It has to be something different. But you can really work to position your countries and then connect it with the professional work. So in this case, it was a campaign that New York did for fintech to attract all of the professionals all over the world that really want to work in the fintech world. And of course, it requires a logo and a symbol, a candidate experience, an emotional connection. So everything that we said about employer branding and marketing, you have to do it for the place you live. But you can really inspire people to really want to experience working there. We're doing a big campaign, I told you, for Budapest, and Budapest is another amazing, beautiful place. So how difficult it is to really position it as one place where you can have an amazing life and also an amazing career. So it's a lot, you can do a lot of work, but if you do it as individual companies, it's going to be more difficult. You should do it together. You should really do it together, because that will make a completely different impact. I'm showing you some example, but if you just go on Pinterest or Google urban marketing campaign, city campaigns, you can see a lot of examples of marketing and urban marketing. Some are very successful, some are just a little bit. So, for example, I've been in Amsterdam many times, and I am Amsterdam. It's cool as a pun, but it's not telling a big story. So, beautiful idea, but again, it's like having a beautiful idea and employer branding, but not activated it with an experience. So, when I go around Amsterdam, I don't see the evidence of that. So, remember, a good idea is fantastic, but you have to put the evidences everywhere, and you have to agree together of how do you want to activate the idea you will have. So just recapping, if you use the same human forward factor employee branding methodology, what are your intellectual benefits, the history, the art, the connection, the industry? Why should people want to be challenged in Poland from an intellectual point of view? What are your emotional connections with Poland, the memories, the nightlife, the food? You know, Italy, a lot of people have got connection with Italy, but they don't really know Italy. Everything that comes to people is history and the romance and the beauty and food and wine. It's a very strong emotional connection, and you probably don't even think about all the rest of Italy, but it's built a very strong connection with Italy. And I guess we've got the emotion, we don't have the intellectual. I wouldn't advise you, any of you, to go and work in Italy, because I think intellectual in this moment is not the best way to develop a professional life. So even if I love Italy, I would never work there because I need intellectual challenges. And then, you know, the hygienic factors. Are there good schools, especially when young parents move into a country and relocate to another city? They need to know that their kids are going to go to a good school. Cost of life and salary. So it's not really about how much you earn. You might earn less, I don't know, in Łódź than Krakow and Warsaw, but what do you buy with that money? Can you have a bigger house? Can you have more disposable income? Are the transport good? Are there airplanes that can get you anywhere in the world and can give you a lot of holidays? Is there a nature that you can explore? Are there options? So if you apply the methodology to Poland or your town, it's exactly the same. And I guess I want to conclude here. I hoped I would have concluded earlier to leave more space, but I've been slower than I expected. I apologize for that. Really, if I had to leave you with few final thoughts, retaining it's better than spending money in attracting and recruiting. Be very creative when you look for talent. Are you looking all for the same people? Can you differentiate a little bit and open up your horizons? Use employer branding for real, not just the hygienic factors, because you're all competing already on those. Go deeper, set programs, convince the business that the radical changes have to be made in HR to really attract and retain people, and really probably would be the dream of my life. And I'm not proposing myself, but I think you've got an opportunity to reposition your industry and your location that it's beyond belief. So whoever starts this, it's going to be an amazing adventure. So that's it. I'm sorry there are just 5 minutes. I'm happy to stay another 5 if you all can stay. But is there any questions or feedback?
Yes, dear ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to asking the question to our presenter, to Francesca, by chat window.
And please feel free, if of course you don't mind and ABSL doesn't mind, to reach me on LinkedIn or send me an email if you need to chat about anything. Or if you got any question, give it to Kasia and then she can send it to me. I'm very open to support you even beyond this.
Yes, thank you very much, Francesca. I plan to send to our participants the presentation in PDF file, as well as the link to the recording. And I will put the contact to Francesca if you have any additional question which you would like to ask after our session. Thank you very much once again for joining our session, and I strongly encourage you to join ABSL webinars in the future.